After your installation, all of your speech microphones are already preset up to a level that we think will be acceptable for most of your services, and then you have your 4 presets on the right hand side which you can use to increase them for larger or smaller services. However, we don't set up microphone inputs such as band inputs or music inputs. In this case, we need to you need to make those changes yourself, and this video will run through how we make changes to a microphone EQ to make it sound better. So we have this microphone, speech microphone here, which at the moment is at a nice level, but I think we need to smooth it out a little bit for vocals. So what we need to do is make sure that we go to Home, User and Standard and log in. Once we're logged in, we can then go to the Processing tab. So channel 1 here, we want to press the select button, and that then shows us what that where that channel is being controlled from. Now we've pressed the select button, we just need to check here in the top left hand corner that we're operating channel 1. If you press the little pencil there, we can make a change, so we're going to call that one mic 1. That just gives us another reference point to make sure that we're changing the right microphone. So first things first is to make sure that we have enough volume coming, have enough level coming from the microphone into the system. Using the gain knob on the left hand side, we can turn that up so that we've got plenty of input going into it. The next thing that we might want to do, if for example it's a microphone that's going to be handled, then we don't need the bass end of it for a female vocalist or something like that. We can put a low pass filter on, so we press the in button, and then we can see here on the PEQ section that a little purple line has appeared. Just move that across and you'll start to find that there's less and less bass on that microphone, and we don't always pick up that rumble that we might get. That's with it off, and that's with it on. So we might find that sometimes with a handled microphone for a female vocalist that bottom end is really not needed. So by putting a high pass filter on, that gets rid of that rumble. Now let's dive a bit closer into the parametric EQ. Tap that area and that changes that tab. So now we can see that the parametric EQ controls are here, and they correspond to the figures on the bottom of that tab. So if you imagine the sound level as a set of scales on a piano, your building naturally amplifies some of those. So when we turn them up, we will get feedback. When we turn a microphone up, we'll get feedback, and this can be quite distracting. There are ways of getting rid of this. So we've just got some feedback there. So we're going to use the top knob first of all, and we're going to just move that to around the 0.8 mark, and then we're going to just turn it down using the gain knob. Now that's stopped that EQ, but it's made it quite a wide angle. So now what we need to do is turn it up a little bit so that we get a narrower and narrower field of that note. So we're trying to find where that note is and where it's feeding back. We do this using the width, and then the frequency moves it from side to side. So we can hear that whistle there. And there we go. So as I moved it into place, that was the frequency that was reverberating throughout the building the most. So we can do that, and we can adjust the width of that so that it's quite a narrow drop out. We also might find that we need to increase the top end, the T's, the C's, the S's of some people. We can do this by, rather than turning down the gain, we can turn that one up, and that gives us a bit more top end. We can then hear pss, 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 the T's, the C's, the S's of that vocal microphone a little bit more. So now that given that microphone plenty of clarity, and we're able to then not have the rumble at the bottom, but we still get a nice level of volume coming through. Gates are something that can be set up, but most of the time, to be honest, you in most circumstances we won't be using the gate. However, compressors can be used, particularly for vocal microphones that aren't being that are used at one aren't being used at the same distance. So for example, if somebody moves forwards and backwards quite so lot and increases their volume, we can add a gate. So if we tap the compressor, and there we can see that the this compressor on here, if I turn it all the way off, press the in button to make it work, and then we can hear that it's, as I come closer it gets louder, and as I go further away it goes quieter. Now if we lower that down, so turning that down, and that moves this knee down a little bit, so now as I get closer to it, you'll see there that the red bar is moving accordingly to reduce the amount of volume coming out. We want to achieve a nice level of dynamic, but without blowing everybody's ears off. When I get really close there, you can see it compresses, but equally it's pretty much the same volume when I step back a little bit. So when I'm stood here versus when I'm stood there are pretty much the same volume coming out, but we still got that dynamic. So if I was singing and I wanted to increase my voice, it would still increase in volume, or equally if I was whispering a little, it would still give that dynamic as well.